let's start with the basic questions. Question number one could be, do I have to install something special, a special SEP sesam server or a special extension? No. Right now, the Si3 comes with the regular SEP sesam server and remote device server on Linux, okay? At the moment, we are working for a solution for Windows, but I think this will take another, maybe 2 or 3 months, and then you can install it for all supported operating systems. But right now, you have to choose a Linux system for the SEP sesam server, 64-bit. This is very important. And of course, you can start Windows backups on this Si3, but the deduplication data store has to run on a Linux system. A little explanation. A SEP sesam Si3 system works differently than traditional compression methods that use only a few reference samples, so-called block levels. So the first important information for you, the Si3 technology really controls each block who arrives the backup server or the remote device server, and it runs exclusively in the memory. On the so-called block level, the files are broken down in a number of blocks of the same size. An important function of the deduplication is the fingerprinting. The files will be separated into segments of different chunks. On the byte level will be analyzed which segments offer the highest repetition rate in order to offer by reference pointer to the original element maximum data reductions. In the past, all our customers or partners used our, regular or normal data store. That means when you do a backup of a Windows system, we write each block as we receive it from the client on the disk. Now, before we write the information or the backup down to the disk, we will analyze all the blocks in the memory of the system, and only if the technology sees something new, a new block, then we write this block down and, like a chunk, and do a fingerprint for this block. So that means when you run the same system, or when you run the backup of the same system twice, we will just, store everything once. And, it's, like all the other deduplication technology you can use at the market right now. But what's special with SEP is that you really don't have to buy special hardware. You don't have to take care on the disk technology what you use, and of course it's state of the art. So it's really the latest technology what we used for developing this technology. And to see how it works, here's just a little graphics I got from the internet. So let me say you have your first full backup, and you have this blue block, the yellow one, and the blue again. So that means the first backup would save only one blue block and one yellow block. You start a second backup. Let's say the first one is a Windows system and the second one is a Linux system. And the difference between these two backups is just, the red block. Then the only information what we will write down to the disk is the red block. The third backup is, let me say, another Windows, but now it's, for example, a Windows 2012. And the only difference between the first two backups and the third backups is the green block. So we will write down the green block as a chunk and do a fingerprint for it. And the same for the fourth. You can see the difference between the fourth full backup and the first three backups is nothing. So that means for the fourth backup we just do fingerprints and nothing else. And the only criteria, or the only thing you have to take care on when you calculate the disk storage, what you want to buy for your backups, is when you work with a lot of compressed file formats like PDFs, JPEGs, video files, and other encrypted files, then the deduplication ratio will not be as good for the first backup. But of course, when we do a backup of the exact same PDF or JPEG or video file, then we just do a fingerprint. Okay, so that means the first backup takes maybe the space of the original files, but for the second full backup, what you start, I don't know, in 2 weeks or 4 weeks later, we just store here the information that there is the same PDF again. Okay, and that reduce your capacity extremely. So when we take a typical company, which has more file servers, groupware systems like Exchange or Nodes or GroupWise, then our experience says that many users have duplicate files on their systems. So a typical scenario is the boss of a company sends out a PDF to all his colleagues, and each of them save the PDF in their home directory. So let me say you have a company with, I don't know, 1,000 employees, then one PDF file is stored for 1,000 times in the home directories of all of these different users. Okay, normally you would, in your backup, when you do a backup of your file server, you would save this PDF for 1,000 times. With deduplication, you store it exactly for one time. Okay, and this is the reason why you should use deduplication for your backup, and the same with all the other files. Of course, the equality of the systems to be backed up is also very important, because when you do a backup of, let me say, a /11 or /12, and after that a backup of Windows 2012 system, you cannot do a deduplication of everything, because, of course, a Linux system has different blocks as a Windows system has. Okay, but I think this is everything what you have to take care on. So when you go to a customer site and you have to calculate how big your disk storage has to be, for the backup, then I would say take the size of one full backup of all your systems. So option number one is you just do a calculation with the XLS to see what the actual data sum is, or you start a backup with SEP. You can also do that with a demo version of everything, and just take the size of the first full backup of all your backup jobs, and this should be the size of your backup storage what you buy for Si3. Best case would be when, let me say, a full backup of everything, from all your tasks is 1.5 terabyte. It would be great if you could buy 1.7 terabyte, disk storage, to be sure that your company can also grow, because nobody knows what kind of data and how much data you will produce in the next business year. So again, when you have 1 terabyte data, in your company, then this 1 terabyte should be the minimum what you should buy for disk storage. It could be a NAS, iSCSI, local attached disk. That doesn't matter to SEP. Okay, important is just the size, And if you want to be super safe, then buy 20% more disk storage. Here is a little example of the ratio. So, this is just an example. Here, ratio of the first backup, approximately 1.2 to 1. So you save with your first backup approximately 16%, okay, of the data. To give you a real example, I installed a fresh SEP sesam server, of course with the latest version. So when you want to try out our deduplication, then just go to beta.sep.de, and there you can download the version 4.4. Okay, and with this version 4.4, you really have our latest deduplication technology and can do tests in your environment. And I will also show you how easy it is, to set up here Si3 data store. The only thing you have to do is, I have a virtual system for that. I used our SEP appliance. Maybe you know that we have a appliance with /11 and everything else you need for a SEP sesam server, and I installed that in a VM. Of course, it's always better, and it's also more effective to install the backup server on a physical system. Okay, but for this demo here, I did installation in a VMware workstation, and this is our appliance, the SEP wallpaper, what you can see here. I think who's already working with SEP knows how to install a backup server, and the installation of a data store after you did a regular installation of the backup server is very easy. You just say new data store, and then a name. I don't know. I like spelling names so that everybody knows what I'm doing here. So the product name is Si3, so I say it's Si3.2. Store type. This is a section where you have to be a little careful, because when you choose here store type path, then we do a regular backup to disk, so without compression and without deduplication. This is our SEP EC archive, our disk warm technology. This is our Falcon step deduplication, and this is the Si3, what we are talking about right now. So I choose Si3. Here you can select the device server, and maybe you remember at the beginning of the webinar I told you can use the backup server or a remote device server on Linux to work with the deduplication. So that means when you have a co-location or a place, not offline but just connected with a one Mbed line between your main office and the co-location, then you can set up a remote device server out there, install a little disk system, I don't know, a NAS or a local attached disk system, and choose this device server here for your Si3. I choose my backup server here, and the only thing I do now is to choose a directory. This is a local directory. In your case, I think it will be a mount point to a real disk storage, and you can also work here with a UNC path. So when you say, something like this, but be careful with NAS storages, because the performance is very important. So we really recommend to use something local attached, like SAN, iSCSI or something like this. SEP sesam is telling me how much disk capacity I have left on this disk storage, and I agree here with OK. The maximum channels, this is the next important part, and it depends on the license you buy for the backup server. So when you buy, let me say, a standard license, you have, for example, 5 or 20 SMS streams, but this is more a sales question. And when you want to drive more backups at the same time, then please take care that you buy the right backup server license. Each SMS channel takes one CPU core. Okay, so when you start a backup of 5 backup tasks or of 5 clients at the same time, the deduplication technology uses or tries to use for each backup stream one CPU core. So it's very important that your backup server or your remote device server has enough CPU cores. to get a good performance. Okay, I will tell you in the next minute what minimum system requirements we have for the deduplication. The next important change is that you can work now with a positive capacity size. So when you used to work with SEP in the past, you maybe can remember that you have to work here with a negative value, and now you can work with positive. So that's so much more easy now. That means when you have a 1 terabyte storage, but you only want to use 500 gigabytes, then you can type in here, I want to work with 500 gigabytes. The high watermark is the limit, and when SEP sesam reach this limit, he tries to delete old backups which run out of the retention time. Okay, this is just a switch. So let me say you start from 0, and then you do backups for weeks, and the SEP sesam Si3 data store reach the high watermark. Then he tries to delete old save sets which are out of the retention time. Okay, I don't know, for deduplication, I prefer 20% of the capacity or just 10%. You can adjust that, okay, during your backup. So, but I have a little disk here for my demo system, so I have to use smaller values and click on OK. Oh, less, sorry. So let's set up a new one very quick. Si3 browse the directory, agree with OK, take the values here and say OK. And now he asks me for creating a new media pool. I say yes. Let's call it dedup pool number 2. Retention time, okay, it's the same like the versions before, so that you can be sure that sesam is not deleting your old backups. Take care on the retention time. So when it's needed, just set up more media pools with different retention times. Like you have file servers and you have to keep the files for 1 year, then just create a media pool with this retention time. And when you have files like virtual machines or databases, what you have to store just for, I don't know, 2 weeks, then create a second media pool with a retention time of 14 days. So it's very easy to do that. Okay, and yeah, that's it. That was the way to set up a deduplication data store with Si3. I installed my deduplication data store yesterday night, and I started with a Windows system. Okay, this was a Windows 2008. I will show you the task properties, and you can see I choose the source all. So that means this backup task creates a backup of all disk drives, what you can see, on this Windows system. And I go back to data stores. Yesterday I created the Si3 1. I was able to get, after the first backup of this Windows system, a deduplication ratio from 3.2 to 1. That means the backup size was 16 gigabytes, but he stored only 5 gigabytes on the disk drive. So that means when I start this backup for a second time, then I'm pretty sure that the deduplication data store stores just a couple of megabytes. Okay, the delta, the difference between the last full backup and the next full backup. Yeah, this is everything what I can tell you how to install the data store. Let's go back to my presentation here. This is what I can tell you about the ratio, but in reality the ratio will be great, or it will be better after each complete full backup. So you could see the first full backup was able to do a ratio of a Windows system, but this is just one Windows system, okay? When you have a mixed environment with virtual systems, Linux guests, databases, then of course the deduplication ratio will be different. But as more backups you drive to this deduplication storage, as better your deduplication ratio will be. Here, hardware requirements. This is very important. Please take care that your backup server really starts with a minimum of 16 gigabytes of RAM and minimum 4 CPU cores. And I told you a couple of minutes before, each data stream which arrives the Si3 store works with 1 CPU core. So let me say you have a system with 4 CPU cores and you start 8 backups. Then 1 CPU core will be shared by 2 backup tasks. And of course, that makes your backup slower. So for deduplication, the performance is really up to the system, okay? The hardware, what you use here for deduplication. Okay, so when you have something like a workstation, of course, the performance will not be that what you maybe need, okay, to be able to run all the backups during the night. And at the moment, we support only 64-bit Linux systems for the backup server and for the remote device server. You can use all these storage types. So it doesn't matter which kind of storage you use here for the deduplication. Installation configuration is very easy, as you could see in my example before. It's just creating a new data store in the SEP GUI and select Si3 as the data store type. The last requirement is Oracle Java version 7. So when you work with a /11, you cannot work with the default Java, because when you set up a /11, the default Java will be a Java version 1.6 from EBM, and that doesn't work. So please upgrade your Java to the version 7, not to the actual version. Of course it will work, but this system is built on a Java, Sun Java or Oracle Java with the version 7. Yeah. No experience needed. Yeah, and now we have time for questions. So when you want to ask me, you can do that right now. A little outlook. The next feature what we will bring out this year is replication. So you really can do a backup, somewhere offsite, and replicate the files with a deduplication technology to your headquarter, to your, let me say, one and only Si3 data store. But that will take another couple of weeks. I can't give you a release date for that. The only thing I can tell you right now is that the code looks good. The first tests are, awesome, and that's a reason why I think replication will, definitely come out this year, and also client-side deduplication, because this is a feature what everybody wants. I say, or my meaning is, when you have a closed network, client-side deduplication is maybe not that what you should use, because when you do client-side deduplication, the CPU of the client, okay, has to be, good enough for deduplication. Here, for the inline deduplication, it's just important that your backup or your remote device server has a good hardware below. Okay, and these two technologies, replication and client-side deduplication, will come out this year. And when you have questions to that, how that will work, and then of course don't hesitate to just send me an email or ask your sales partner, and he can give you more information to this data store. When you want to have a private session, then just write an email to cr@sep.de. Then I can give you more information about our deduplication technology. But there is no hidden information. It's really that easy. Create a new data store, select Si3, and then start with backups. Really store all your backups on this duplication storage, and you will see it works amazing and as fast as it can work. And for backup, it really makes sense to work with Si3. The restore works, like it worked in the past, and I hope you enjoyed the session. Thanks for your attention, and yeah, hope talking to you soon. Bye-bye.